it mentions that basically since then, the government didn't necessarily have justification to go in, but Janet Reno was the first female attorney general in the United States history, which I think is an important side piece of this. And she's only 3 months into the job. And she wants to kind of assert the fact that she's the attorney general. And
she was around.
Well, she was given some information by some agents that maybe since then has proved to be unfounded about child abuse.
Oh.
And she used that as, okay, well, we better go in.
Yeah.
And then she got a lot of criticism for it.
Oh, really?
Clinton stood by her the whole time.
I know that Clinton was involved in this. They were telling him.
And he was relying on Reno, and she's relying on the field agents that are there, the ATF and the FBI.
Yeah.
So, but she got a lot of heat over, basically it's her call on whether they go in or not, because it was split in the FBI. Some on the FBI thought Koresh is going to give himself up. And others, no, he's not going to. They got this arsenal. We have to go in. Hindsight's 2020, and we know that it's unfortunate that 70-some people had to lose their lives.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing is like, did it have to come to this? I mean, it really, with all these kids dying, is this really what it had to come to, or could they have waited longer and just allowed Koresh to come out? And
well, I can see that part of the argument, and I did think that for a while, but then I started reading about each day. There's a timeline of events online. I don't remember the website. I wrote down a lot of them, and I can go through them, but they gave David Koresh and they gave the compound like unlimited amount of chances to make this right, and he turned down every single one of them. I'll kind of read over some of these.
How is it the kids' fault, though?
It isn't the kids' fault. And David, he did trap these people in there. He did tell them that they were not allowed to leave after this.
Part of the cult.
Part of the cult wanted to leave. Part of them was so dedicated that they were going to give their life up. But there was a lot of people there that wanted to leave. And the first hostage negotiator that actually disagreed with the FBI and the whole thing that happened, he freed 23 people. He talked to David and let 24 people get out. Those are the only 23 people that got out. Everyone else, from the day he was fired, there was never another person released. So yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Why would everyone have to be punished for one man's decisions? But I kind of just want to go through the multiple attempts here where they gave him multiple chances. So after that raid, what we just watched, where they came and they killed 4 ATF members, that was on February 28th. On March 2nd, March 1st, Clinton was informed about it, and he knew all the events and everything. He kind of gave authority for the FBI to move in. March 2nd is when David made an audio tape for the radio. It's a sermon, an hour long, and they play that on Christian Broadcast Network. They actually play his message. This is something they were trying to work with them, and the Christian Broadcast Network said that they would play it, and they actually played his hour-long sermon on the radio. That was just the beginning, though. Then on March 7th, the FBI refuses to deliver milk to the kids unless they refuse to deliver milk at all unless the kids are released. David does not let that happen. He declines. March 9th, the electricity is cut off, trying to get them to cooperate. Koresh says he won't talk to anybody until the power is turned back on. So they turn it back on. He talks to them. They go on an all-night-long negotiation. Nothing gets done. He just talks about the Bible. March 10th, the next day, they cut the electricity off again, and 4.5 more hours of negotiations lead absolutely nowhere. There's nothing that gets done. March 14th, 4 days later, the electricity is still off. It's cold out now. It said the people were freezing. They were contacting the government saying, please turn it back on. We're freezing in here. The FBI says no. They set up giant lights outside to disrupt sleep, huge spotlights on the property shining down in all the windows. They get extremely mad, especially David. Then the FBI, if they didn't go far enough, 4 days later, power's still off, the FBI brings in these giant speakers, like some massive speakers up on huge poles, and they start broadcasting just crazy like Tibetan music and humming, Christmas music, like pop hits. And David puts his own music on speakers and starts blaring it back. There's a video on here, Dalt. You can actually hear them blaring music. There's a guy who gets in and starts driving through. Go to do the Waco siege rare footage maybe. That might be it. And I go to 22:45 if you can. It's a long video. 22.
Second here, you'll see that Bradley.
Start right here. Yeah. Yep, start right here. You can hear the music playing. It's a really grainy video, but
That's eerie.
at the checkpoint.
Is this an FBI video?
This is ATF video. Yep.
Visual security is airtight.
And there was not. You can pause it, doll. It just pretty much. This is footage that the guy claims on YouTube he got this. He's not supposed to have it from the ATF. It's 45 minutes long, and it has helicopter footage. It's all really blurry and grainy, so you can't really make out too much. But I thought it was eerie that this is probably from half a mile, maybe a mile away. You can hear the music blaring. They were blasting this music in there, trying to get them to come out, and it didn't work. So that's on the. Let's see. That is on the 18th and through the 21st, and then it goes into April. April 6th, the music is still playing. So this is a week later, 2 weeks later, and the tensions are very high. On the 16th, David has completed the first of his lengthy religious documents. His whole entire excuse for being holding the government up, because God was telling him stuff that he needed to write down. And I don't remember what it was called, but he wrote down this giant document where he had written all these things that were going to happen and the end of the world and all this stuff.
So is that his end game, like Armageddon, like the end of the world, like they're fighting for this?
They're fighting for the end of the world, yeah. Right. And he thinks that this is part of it. And he's writing these documents, and that's why he's holding the government off. And on the 19th, that is when the government said we've had enough, and they move in, and that is when things go crazy. The tanks come in, and they bring...
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to wrap my head around what the right answer is when, say, there's components on both sides of the government overstepping with the safety of every member, and not just the kids too. If you're part of a cult and brainwashed, like who you're, like you have to let like child protective services in on a normal situation to check on the well-being of people. I mean, and yes, there's both sides of the coin where people that don't want government to overstep, but we're talking about safety here, and not just this instance too. I mean, you don't want it to get to this point, so that's why you have to do a good job before it gets to this point. And like you said at the beginning of the second half, educating people and having a system set up where hopefully this doesn't reoccur.
Oh yeah, big time.
Keep reoccurring.
In county services go in all the time in our country and remove kids from homes.
Yeah.
For probably a lot less than
hopefully
what's going on here.
And then you hear 305 guns. I mean, you're going to get others involved.
Right. And these are illegal firearms, and you're holding all these people, and they're not hostage, but
at this point, I would call them hostages. Well, because don't you think if they were agreed to this from the beginning, I think you kind of go 100% in.
Yeah, and you let people in. I mean,
well, and the kids have no choice.
No,
because they're not going to leave their parents, and they're not going to come out.
No.
So the FBI is trying to do what they feel is best for the kids.
Mm-hmm. They
use tear gas.
Yep, they shot a lot of it in there.
And then since then, it's been proven that the Branch Davidian started the fire.
Oh, really?
I think that's one piece of what I read today was that, there's some audio recording was released that they started the fire. And that was one thing that was debated, but...
That's going to be your conspiracy theory on the flip side of...
But you look at that too and you say, if the government was really wanting to do what was best for the kids, if they know these people are end of the worlders and Armageddon is coming and they've got all this arsenal...
Yep.
If you move in, what are they going to do?
Yeah, you gave them.
They're going to kill themselves.
Yeah.
They're going to kill the kids, and now you've lost all these kids.
Yeah.
So was there a better way to go about it? I think is the question that most people ask. Not that what they're doing is right or wrong.
And I can't sit here and figure that out, and that's why it's been a tough one for me.
Well, after me reading the long list of things, that's just a couple of them. I didn't read every day. I just read highlights that I thought. After reading all the stuff that the government did, do you think there was a large number of opportunities where they had the time to give up and that they even put on the speakers, you can come out. We're not going to do anything if you come out and with your hands up.
When you have 305 stockpiled guns and you're doing what you're doing living there, I don't think you have it on your mind to give up
like that,
under the circumstances, and trying to wrap a rational thought around something that's almost impossible to wrap a rational thought around.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out, because people bring up the argument that the government wasn't justified in doing this. But then you read the 51 days of what they did to give them opportunities.
Yeah.
Then it kind of changes your mind.
And it's tough for me to sit here and think of that side of it, because it almost makes you have to side with what he was doing.
Yeah.
If you're saying that the government shouldn't go in.
Yeah.
And, if you take it by a case-by-case basis, I mean, again, go back to what's best for everyone involved there.
Yeah.
It's, I just said, it's a tough one to ration
big
out.
time.